My boss fired me after 20 years. 6 weeks later, he lost $20 million worth of medical shipments in just 4 hours, and I was the only person who could find them. But when I walked into that meeting room, I wasn't there to help. I was there to expose the fraud scheme that would send him to federal prison. He thought replacing me with AI would make him rich. Instead, it made him a criminal. This is how I destroyed the man who destroyed my life, using nothing but a simple tracking tool I'd put in the system 3 years earlier. My name is James Walker. For 20 years, I managed the shipping operations at Synaptic Freight. Not the big stuff everyone sees, the ships and trucks, but the small details that keep everything running smoothly. I could spot problems before they happened, fix issues before they cost money. It's not magic. It's just knowing your job really, really well after doing it for 2 decades. 3 months before I was fired, I saved the company $12 million, and the AI system would have never caught it. A shipment of cancer drugs from Switzerland to Seattle looked fine on paper. Temperature good, route planned, delivery on time. But I noticed the shipping company had just been sold to new owners. New owners usually cut costs. I checked who was driving and found they'd given a rookie the route through Death Valley in July. One breakdown in that heat would ruin everything. I changed the route to go north instead, adding 6 hours but making sure it got there safely. That original truck? It broke down in Barstow when it was 116 degrees outside. Those drugs would have been destroyed. Julian called what I did unnecessary meddling. The Swiss drug company called it why we'll never leave Synaptic. 6 weeks before that October meeting, Julian Morris called me into his office. He'd been hired 6 months earlier, one of those guys who thinks computers can solve everything, where I saw real-world problems that needed human judgment. He saw inefficiency. "James, this isn't personal," he said, his expensive cologne filling the room. "Our new AI system, Ethelred, makes your job unnecessary." I looked at the photo on his desk. His family on a ski vacation. Everyone smiling. My daughter Emma had just started treatment for her autoimmune disease. Without good insurance, we'd lose everything. The AI can't tell when something feels wrong, Julian. Shipping needs human instinct. Shipping needs data, clean, efficient data. He pushed the termination papers across the desk. "You've got 2 weeks. Here's the thing about Julian. He wasn't dumb. MIT graduate, worked at McKinsey, truly believed in automation. He'd fixed supply chains at 2 big companies before joining us. But he had one big blind spot. He thought shipping was like math, predictable with right answers. But shipping is more like weather, chaotic, always changing. Storms happen, workers go on strike, customs agents have bad days. You can't control chaos. You just learn to work with it. The really frustrating part, that same morning I'd caught a refrigeration problem that would have cost us $3 million. The system completely missed it. 20 years of saving the company's ass, and I was being let go with 2 weeks' notice. Sarah met me at home that evening. Emma's medical bills spread across our kitchen table like a ticking time bomb. "We'll figure it out," she said. But I could see her hands shaking around her coffee mug. Emma's treatment was very specific. Special medication that had to be timed perfectly. There were cheaper alternatives, but they were risky and unpredictable. Our good insurance covered the right medicine. Without it, we'd basically be gambling with her health. The doctors said if we could keep her on the good stuff for 2 years, she'd be fine. 2 years I could no longer afford. The first week after I cleaned out my desk was the worst. Not because I lost my job. I half expected that when Julian showed up. It was the look in Emma's eyes that killed me. She'd always looked at me like I could fix anything. That Tuesday morning, when she overheard Sarah on the phone with the insurance company, I saw that confidence disappear. She didn't say anything, just quietly closed her homework and went to her room. I found her later, looking up part-time jobs online. My brilliant 15-year-old, who should have been worried about school dances and science projects, was figuring out how many hours she could work without making herself sicker. That night, after she fell asleep, I stood in her doorway, watching her breathe, feeling like the world's biggest failure. I'd protected millions of dollars of cargo for 20 years, but I couldn't protect my own kid from growing up too fast. That's when my sadness turned into something else. I wasn't just going to find another job. I was going to find out what was really going on. 3 weeks after losing my job, I started digging. At first, I just wanted to prove my worth for job interviews. Using public shipping records, totally legal, I tracked how Synaptic was doing without me. I'd sent out 47 resumes, got 3 calls back. 2 said I was overqualified. 1 said my skills were too old-fashioned for modern automated systems. They wanted people who managed computers, not people who understood shipping. Every rejection email felt like Julian's voice. Outdated, unnecessary, replaced. Sarah started looking for night shifts. Emma noticed the cheaper groceries, the canceled plans, the stress in our voices. That's when I stopped just job hunting and started really investigating. The problems jumped out immediately. Tuesday, 3 p.m., temperature-sensitive medicine sent through Phoenix during a heat wave. Thursday, midnight, medical supplies stuck in customs too long. Small screw-ups, each costing thousands, invisible unless you knew what to look for. I pulled up my old files. 20 years of problems I'd fixed. Disasters I'd prevented. These weren't company secrets. They were my personal notes, legally mine. The AI wasn't making random mistakes. It was making the exact same mistakes I'd been preventing for years. Then I saw something really clever and really wrong. 4 new consulting companies had started billing Synaptic, Meridian Tech Solutions, Harbor Logistics Consulting, Northern Analytics, and Cascade Systems Group. Each charged between $95,000 and $105,000 per month, just under the amount that would trigger closer inspection. Together, they were billing almost $400,000 monthly. The setup was genius. Each company was real, registered in different states, with actual employees who thought they were doing legitimate work. Meridian did provide some AI consulting, just not $100,000 worth. Harbor did write reports, mostly copy-pasted from old templates. Julian had created a network of semi-legitimate businesses, each overcharging just enough to stay under the radar. I spent 3 days connecting the dots. The billing wasn't random. It followed a pattern. Meridian would charge for preventive analysis 2 weeks before a predictable problem. Harbor would bill for recovery consulting 3 weeks after. Northern Analytics provided optimization reviews during the worst chaos. It looked like they were responding to problems, not profiting from them. The scam was brilliant. Julian wasn't straight up stealing. He was massively overcharging. Each company provided real services worth maybe 20% of what they billed. The other 80% was pure profit, but proving it required understanding both the shipping problems and the business setup. No single auditor would catch it. You'd need someone who understood shipping, computers, and accounting. Or someone like me, who knew which problems happened every year because I'd been fixing them for 2 decades. Tom Harrison, my old right-hand man, met me at a food truck by the docks. No phones, no recordings, just 2 guys eating tacos. Company's losing money fast, he said quietly. Julian keeps blaming growing pains, but the board's asking questions. Margaret Davis has been looking at the books for weeks. Tom, you know the Port of LA does a system reset every October 15th, right? He stopped eating. The port's yearly computer reset created 12 hours of complete chaos. I'd always handled it myself, manually tracking important shipments through the confusion. The AI doesn't know it happens, I continued. On October 15th, at 11:47 a.m., watch the medical shipments. Write down everything you see. James, what are you? 3 years ago, I was fixing a tracking problem. Packages would physically exist but disappear from the computer during system switches. I wrote a simple program to find them. Got it approved. Put it in the manual. It's not hidden. It's on page 847 of the system guide that nobody reads. I showed him a photo of the manual page on my phone. Code 7 Alpha Romeo. I wasn't trying to hide anything. I was solving a real problem. But that program can show what's really happening versus what the AI thinks is happening. When the port resets, the AI will lose track of hundreds of shipments. He stared at me. And Julian's companies will charge to fix it. Exactly. But here's the key. Have Margaret watch when the bills come in. She's already suspicious. Let her see them billing for problems before anyone officially knows there's a problem. Julian knows what will fail because he studied my old reports. He's not causing problems. He's profiting from predictable ones. If you're right. Tom pushed his food away. This is massive fraud, which is why she'll believe it when she sees it happen live. I handed him a flash drive. This has my analysis of those consulting companies. Give it to Margaret only after she sees those early bills on October 15th. If I'm wrong, forget about it. If I'm right, make sure she understands how big this is. October 13th, 2 days before the port reset, Julian called me. My heart sank seeing his name on my phone. James, I hear you've been asking questions about Synaptic. His voice was casual but threatening. That could look like corporate spying. I kept my voice calm. Just using public information for job applications, Julian. All legal. I know you're upset, he said, suddenly sounding sympathetic. But the industry's changing. Maybe instead of fighting it, you should join it. Meridian needs experienced shipping people. The message was clear. Join the scam or shut up. I'll think about it, I said. Think fast. October 15th came, gray and tense. I sat at home, Emma doing homework next to me, tired from her cheaper medications but stable. We couldn't afford the better ones anymore. At 11:47 a.m., I watched the public tracking data as 400 medical shipments entered the Port of Los Angeles system. The reset hit like the computers suddenly forgot everything. For 8 minutes, those shipments stopped existing in the AI's world. The AI, programmed to trust perfect data, couldn't handle the confusion. It created duplicate entries, impossible routes, nonsense logistics, insulin supposedly going to Alaska, antibiotics looping through Nebraska forever, nearly 20 million in medicines, completely lost. What happened next was Julian's big move, or would have been, if Tom and Margaret weren't watching. 12 minutes after the problem started, before the system even knew something was wrong, Meridian Tech Solutions sent a bill for $97,000 to fix unexpected port issues. Almost $400,000 in emergency bills for a problem that wasn't even detected yet. My phone rang. Tom, out of breath. Margaret saw it all. The bills came before we knew anything was wrong. She's calling an emergency board meeting. She wants you here in 4 hours. Can you actually find those shipments? I'll be there. The boardroom was controlled chaos when I arrived 4 hours after the crisis started. Julian stood at the main screen, calm and professional, typing commands like he was saving the day. 20 executives watched, not knowing they were watching an act. Mr. Walker. Margaret Davis stood up. Her face showed nothing. Mr. Harrison says you knew this would happen. More importantly, our investigation found interesting connections between Mr. Morris and these consulting companies. I didn't predict it, I said carefully. I remembered it. The port resets every year, same day. Same time. 8 years running. Julian's fingers stopped moving for just a second. Then why? Margaret asked slowly, showing timestamps on the screen. Did 4 consulting companies bill us for emergency services 11 minutes before our computers detected any problem? The room went dead silent. Julian turned around, still trying to look calm. They have predictive monitoring. Better than ours? Margaret cut him off. Mr. Walker, can you find our shipments? I opened my laptop, logged into the system, and went to page 847 of the manual, the section about special tracking tools. 3 years ago, I made a program to find lost shipments, fully documented, approved by security, completely legitimate, just rarely needed. I typed in code 7 Alpha Romeo, the screen filled with locations, 400 shipments sitting safely in warehouses, just waiting to be found. The shipments were never lost, I explained, recovering them one by one. They exist in real life but not in the computer. The AI can't handle that confusion, so it panics. I documented this problem 3 years ago. Julian stepped forward. This is a setup. No, Margaret interrupted. She pulled up financial records on her tablet. Our investigators spent 3 weeks tracking your consulting partners, Julian. They're all real companies, but they share something interesting. The same payroll company, owned by a shell company in Delaware, which traces back through 3 more shells to an investment fund. Your investment fund. Julian's calm finally cracked. Those are legitimate businesses, charging 5 times what the services are worth, Margaret said. You didn't create fake companies. You created real ones that massively overcharged for problems you knew would happen because you had 20 years of James's reports. You studied his solutions, found what the AI couldn't handle, and turned it into profit. She nodded to security. Our legal team has been building this case for weeks. We needed James to prove we could recover the shipments, but more importantly, to show these problems were preventable. You fired the one person who could prevent them, then made money from the chaos. That's wire fraud, conspiracy, and about 6 other federal crimes. As security led Julian out, he looked back. The AI would have worked. Maybe, I said, but fraud never does. I recovered all 400 shipments in 90 minutes. The drug companies watching the crisis unfold took notice. My phone started ringing before I left the building. Margaret kept me for another hour, explaining the investigation. We need someone who understands that shipping is about handling uncertainty, not eliminating it, she said finally. Chief Systems Architect. Full control over all consulting contracts. Triple my old salary, and guaranteed coverage for my daughter's medical treatment, no matter what. She shook my hand. When can you start? 4 hours ago. 6 months later, a federal prosecutor called. Julian had pled guilty to wire fraud and conspiracy, basically using real businesses to systematically overcharge and steal. 18 months minimum security prison, 3 years probation, and $4.2 million in payback. His partners, who honestly thought they were doing legitimate work, avoided prosecution but faced lawsuits. The prosecutor said my documentation and Margaret's investigation made the case airtight. Julian's scheme was smart enough that he might have gotten away with it, if not for those bills coming in before the problems were detected. That evening, I sat with Emma on our back porch, watching planes fly overhead. Dad, why did Julian think he could get away with it? I hugged her close, feeling her steady breathing. Properly medicated now. Insured. Safe. Because he was smart enough to hide the crime, but not smart enough to hide the pattern. He understood computers, but not people. She was quiet for a moment. You gave up looking for a regular job to catch him, didn't you? You chose justice over safety. No, sweetheart. I chose you. Some fights are about what's right. This one was about making sure you could keep fighting yours. The planes continued overhead, carrying cargo I'd watch over tomorrow. Somewhere, a problem was forming in Singapore. I couldn't prove it yet, but I could feel it, the way farmers feel rain coming. Perfect data tells you what happened. Experience tells you what's about to happen. And sometimes, the best tool isn't the one you hide. It's the one you document properly and wait 3 years to use. Julian never understood the difference between being clever and being smart. Now he had 18 months to figure it out.